Hey y'all, I'm out in the garden today. It is a killing day based upon the planting signs, so I'm going to come out here and try and do a little bit of garden cleanup. As you can tell, it really needs it, and it's so cool. We already got things popping up and looking pretty happy, but I've got a lot of old stems and things like that need to be cleaned up, and a lot of weeds. Hopefully I have got a few things to hopefully help with that this year. But as you can see, there are a lot of weeds, so we will do that. And it is pretty warm out here today. It's crazy. It's the end of February. I think it's February 21st, and we're over 80 degrees if you're in the sun, so it's a hot one out here. But we got lots of stuff to do on the arbor. I'm not sure if I'll get to all that today. I'm just going to start at one end of the garden and continue on. There is a ton of stuff to get here, and the pepper bed's not too bad, just a few weeds. I got most of that sorted, and this bed's really bad. I've always had trouble with this bed, and we still got some okra plants and things here. It was so cool. The other day there was a hawk, a little small hawk that was on the okra plant. I'll just step in here and show. And it was like bent over like that with the hawk sitting on it. It was really cool. And then he flew through the fence. It was really awesome how agile them things are. So, okay, so this is where we're at. A really big mess. I'm going to set the camera up and y'all can watch me do a little bit of cleanup, because this is really in a really big need of it, because here in probably just a few weeks I'm going to be ready to plant the peas. So I'm getting really excited and really need to get this taken care of. I don't know about y'all, but YouTube has been recommending so many spring clean with me videos. I don't know if it's just because I'm a gardener or what, but I don't even think about deep cleaning the house in the spring. There is just too much to think about and to work on in the garden at this time of year. So I usually do all of that in the either late summer or fall, before like Thanksgiving and stuff like that. That's usually whenever I do all of my deep cleaning of the house. And it's always seasons and phases for things. That's the way it works for me anyways. So my plan today was to try and get a lot of the bigger things. I had some sunflower stalks out there, and I also grew hibiscus from seed. This was my first time growing it, and they have pretty big stalks on them. So I'm cutting all of that off and getting all that taken care of. And just working on the flower bed right now. I think I'm going to work on the bigger stuff and kind of the things that have been bothering me. I look out the window and I see all of this, and it kind of bothers me. So I do leave a lot of the stuff out in the garden. For one, it's kind of good for the good insects. And another reason is it gives the little birds protection. We have a lot of birds, and as I was talking about earlier, we do have predators. So I like to leave a little bit of this stuff so they have a little bit of protection. Next, I'm moving on to our arbor. We made these out of cattle panels and T-posts. They are super easy and is one of my favorite features of the garden. But it had a lot of squash vines and tomato vines and this horrible weed that we have here. It's called bindweed. It's similar to a morning glory, only its flowers are nowhere near as pretty, and it is really, really invasive. So this is really a bad weed that I struggle with a lot, and it is really hard. It's wrapped itself around the arbor, and it is really hard to get off here. Another thing that makes it even harder is I'm short. So you get to laugh at me struggling here. I know I sure was. It was pretty funny watching this back. As I was doing this, I was thinking back from last year. Last year I planted a lot of lettuces and some of my favorite herbs that I like to grow, like my nasturtium flowers and things that I dehydrate or we eat a lot of. And I grew those in that little section in between the bed and the arbor. That way it had some protection from the sun, because it gets really hot here. And it worked great, and we had a lot of vegetables do really good here. But like I was saying earlier, we have a lot of birds and they love to sit on this arbor, and you can only imagine the food was not, you couldn't eat it. So or at least I didn't want to. I didn't know that I could wash them well enough. So I think I have decided I am not going to grow that there. We're going to grow something else, and I was kind of thinking maybe to do flowers. we'll see what I end up doing. So y'all be sure and subscribe so y'all can see what I can do if I can ever figure it out. I don't know about y'all, but I am super indecisive. I think I want to do this and then I change my mind. I have several plants that I have moved like 3 or 4 times because I cannot make up my mind. And the arbor was a really tedious job. There were little tendrils everywhere that I had to try and get out. So it took me a little bit, and I just pile everything into my cart and I'll just go dump it to where somewhere hopefully I will make a compost pile with it, but if not, it will eventually all break down and turn into compost anyways. Next, I'm at the area where I grew our tomatoes, or some of our tomatoes. This is my favorite area to grow it. I usually grow all of my cherry tomatoes here. That way, whenever they get past this one cattle panel that we have, they'll just topple over and go onto the arbor, and it's really fun to pick them that way. I have yet to decide. I am trying to figure out, again, my indecisiveness. I am trying to figure out if I want to move this one cattle panel that's more horizontal, if I want to move it forward or not. I am short, and if I could change one thing about my garden beds is I would make them more 3 feet wide instead of 4 feet wide, because being short, it is really hard to weed in the middle and it really hurts my back. So I think if I ever did it again, I would only do 3 feet for that reason alone. But I'm thinking about possibly moving that fence area with the cattle panel forward to make it easier to get the tomatoes, but I'm not sure because then it would make the middle area even harder to weed. So you see, I'm indecisive, but it'll probably just end up staying where it's at because I don't think I'll do that, but I don't know. I like the idea and I don't. Now I'm moving on to my opinion, the biggest eyesore of the whole garden. This has bothered me since the summer. I was experimenting with different ground covers in a few of the beds, and this bed here, I put down a couple of different cloth ground covers, and here's the proof. It really did not work well at all. And I've got to get this fence area sorted because it'll be time to plant the peas. And this is one of the areas that I like to plant peas. And it is such a mess. I was so happy to get this down. It makes the garden look so much better. This is also that horrible bindweed that we have. And I could not believe this was several wheelbarrows full of weeds that was in just this bed here. They had a really fun time, I guess, climbing up that fence. It was awfully satisfying to get all of this off of here, but it came off in almost a big sheet, and I was able to roll it up to make like a really big tumbleweed. So it was really easy to get out. Well, I think I'm gonna end for today. I am really tired. I am not used to all this kind of hard work. I still exercise through the winter, but it is not enough. It is still really hot out here, but we made quite a lot of progress. We got all the tall sticks here and pretty much everything off of the arbor there. That was really nice. That's kind of been an eyesore. I'm really glad to get that cleaned up. And we got a little bit done here. I'm probably going to end up moving this fence here. I think I want to move it into the middle of the bed, so I'm not too worried about getting everything off right now. But I think that's where we're going to leave off for today. Now we're on to day 2, and Robert said he was going to come help me today with this tool that he has. But first, before we use the tool, I need to get all of the garden bed area cleaned up around the edges. And I also need to get all of the leaves and stuff picked up like that. So we're going to use this really cool tool. It's like a blowtorch, but it gets really, really hot and kills the weeds, and hopefully will kill all the seeds and burn them up too. With all of that bindweed that I was getting off the arbor, the little seeds were falling everywhere right into the garden bed. So I was really concerned about that, and he made a great suggestion of doing that. So hopefully this will kill all of those weed seeds, and I will not have to struggle with that this coming year like I did last year. And y'all are probably going to see a lot of people walking around and a lot of vehicles and equipment and things like that. This day they were out in our town changing the electrical poles and putting new ones up. And it's really nice, and I'm glad they're doing that. But I guess they didn't move any of the phone line, so they kept the old poles, but yet they cut them off. And sadly, the one that you can see here in the video is one that are little woodpeckers that they had a home in the very top of. and I hope so much that they still stick around because last year was so fun. We got to see babies and they were just adorable. We enjoy the woodpeckers so much, so I hope that they're able to, if they can't use that one, well, I guess they can't anymore because it's gone, but hopefully there'll be enough of trees and things like that around that they can still find homes and will still stick around. That was a lot of tedious work to get all of that picked up, and I cannot believe there are even more weeds in that garden bed with the cloth fabric, yet another wheelbarrow load. Now Robert's out in the garden using this weed dragon tool. It's basically just a flame tool that works off of propane, and my job was to keep the weeds and the flames from getting onto the ground cover. So I had to do that, and he was getting everything lit, and hopefully this will kill all of the weeds and the seeds that we were having issues with. And it's also got this really cool kind of blowtorch kind of feature where he pushes the button and like it makes it shoot even further. But that did not work so well with having to worry about the ground cover. It was basically sending little embers everywhere and it was burning up the ground cover. So I'm probably going to have to put more ground cover over the top of this, but that's okay. I have a little bit more left still. So I think we'll have to do that. And I am kind of disappointed. I had bought this last year around April, the ground cover. Well, I had bought it and I didn't get it put down until April. And this year, whenever I was out there, I noticed that there was actually spots that I don't know if there was like a little bit of soil that was left through or there was just a teeny tiny little hole, but I guess that's all it takes. And there were weeds growing through it. So I'm a little bit disappointed. I don't know if I need to just take it up and put it up over the winter, if that's what you're supposed to do. I was hoping I could just leave it down just to be easier, but I'm not sure. It works great. Like it worked great all summer long, and the only places I had issues with were under the beds where I couldn't get to, and I was going to try something different and this year with it, and I think I'm still going to try, but I'm a little disappointed at how well it held up, and it was a really good name brand too. I didn't buy like a cheap brand or anything. I bought ones that other people have said that they have been able to get years of use of, and I'm still having a little bit of issues. So I don't know, maybe it's just the weeds are that crazy here, which I totally would agree with because they are insane. Now Robert's moving on to the next bed, and you can see what he's doing a little bit better. This weed dragon thing works great, especially if it's like dry stuff, like the dry weeds. It works amazing, and it's shocking how quickly it takes care of that compared to where I was trying to just clean up a little bitty area. It's like the whole bed of them are just gone. It is so awesome and super satisfying. But he has to be careful because I have a catnip plant at the very end there that he's having to watch out for, so he's not doing the whole bed. And I think I also have yarrow on the other side. So I have a few herbs there that are really pretty. I love the way that herbs and flowers look at the end of the bed. Like I was saying before, whenever I look out my window in the house, that's the area that I see. So I love to plant flowers there, and it just makes me so happy to see flowers. And I love catnip. I don't know if y'all have grown that before, but it is so pretty. It has really pretty purple flowers, and I'm a sucker for purple. I love purple. Now he's moving on to that third bed, and man, that was so satisfying to see all those weeds that have been bothering me since about summertime. It was so nice to just see that bed so cleaned off like that, and it's really cool. It just kind of kept going, and they really took off there for a while. But this tool is amazing, and I highly recommend it. It's not sponsored or anything, but it is so amazing and makes quick work of weeds, and hopefully it will kill all them weed seeds too, because there were a lot of those that were still falling down or either still on there. So I was really, really happy that he helped me with that. While he's getting the weeds, I'm working on this long bed. Whenever we harvested all of our peppers, we found it was a lot easier to just pull the peppers up and pick the peppers off. We were trying to get all of this done before the frost, and we just tossed the cages. I use tomato cages for my peppers because they're so big, and we just tossed them over for the time being, and I completely left them there all winter long. So I'm finally getting to that. Better late than never. Did y'all see that really cool machine train that went by. It almost looked like a tank. It was on tracks and everything. Now that I got all the cages sorted, I'm gonna get all the pepper debris that didn't break down over the winter and get all of that out now. Now we're moving on to this long bed that I have struggled so much with the weeds. So last year I put several different ground covers down and we're trying to get all of those up. There were a few that did really good and a few that not so good, but some of them were really hard to get up. I'm so glad Robert was there to help me because I was not able to do all of it. When we pulled all of that up, he found a really big sweet potato. It had sat there all winter long, so it was all rotted, but it's crazy how big of a sweet potato he was able to find there that we completely missed. I am really starting to get tired at this point. This is day 2 of another really long day of weeding, and I was really tired. Robert had moved on to the fruit area and called me over there to look at some things, and I think after that, I just said I was done for today. Hey y'all, I forgot to show where we ended up the other day when we were out here, so I'm going to show you. It's still a hot one, and here's where we are in the garden. I got all the tall stalks, but as you can see, everything is starting to wake up. So there are lots of things here, and this is our new flower bed that I made last year, and these beds are looking a lot better. Robert got a lot of this burned here, and I got all the stuff off of the arbors, and we got most of this one burned as well as this one, and I got all the old debris and stuff like with the plants out of here, and I still need to finish getting this weeded as well as this one, and I haven't even touched this one yet. I'm still trying to figure out what to do. I think I'm going to wait till a better day to move the plants, and I'm thinking about moving my chives and my onions. Y'all have to stay tuned and see if that's what I actually end up doing. I'm not really sure yet, but I think that's everything that we got done, and I just wanted to show a few of the things that are already starting to wake up, and we're just at the end of February, so that's pretty cool. Alright, y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.